Mike never thought his graduation day would end in a beat-up Honda Civic, eating a cold burger alone. He parked in the far corner of the school lot, the cap and gown tossed beside him like discarded dreams. Through the foggy windshield, he watched families cheer and snap photos, their laughter echoing from the gym. He sat there, diploma unopened in his lap, feeling the weight of every empty seat in the crowd. Earlier that afternoon, he had smiled and walked across the stage. Principal Edward had called his name, and Mike had accepted the diploma with a steady handshake. He had even managed a small grin for the photographer. Teachers in the front row had given him warm applause, recognition for the long nights and personal battles he'd fought to reach this moment. But when he looked into the sea of faces, there was no one waiting for him. No proud mother, no distant father, no older brother, just silence. He remembered the 3 invitations he sent out weeks ago, one to his father's last known address in Arizona, another to his mother's rehab in Oregon, and a third to his brother, who never replied. He closed his eyes and let the memory fade. When the ceremony ended, he slipped out through a side door and drove straight to the nearest fast food joint. Now, he poked at the soggy fries and wondered if this achievement would always feel hollow. A sharp tap on his window made him jump. Mike looked up to see Principal Edward, still in his gown. Mike braced himself for a lecture, but instead heard, "Mind if I join you?" Edward's voice was gentle. Mike rolled down the window. "Sure," he replied, his throat tight. Edward slid into the passenger seat, leaving his diploma back in the gym. They sat in silence for a moment before Edward said, "I saw you up there today. You earned every bit of that diploma." Mike's eyes filled with tears. "It doesn't feel like it," he whispered. Edward placed a hand on his shoulder. "Sometimes the biggest victories aren't the loudest. You proved yourself today, Mike." Mike swallowed hard, a small spark of pride flickering to life. "Thank you," he said. As they finished the fries, Mike quietly, Edward encouragingly, Mike realized that perhaps this moment wasn't hollow after all. He had taken the hardest steps alone and still arrived at the finish line. And maybe, just maybe, he deserved this victory. Mike shoved his cap and gown into the back seat, along with empty energy drink cans and forgotten textbooks. "Sorry about the mess," he muttered, turning to Principal Edward as he squeezed into the small car, robes bunched around his shoulders. "I've seen worse," Edward said, shifting to find a spot. "The teacher's lounge would shock you." Silence fell. Mike nibbled at his half-eaten burger, unsure what to say to the man he'd only known as the stern voice over the PA system. Edward cleared his throat. "I noticed you skipped the reception inside." Mike shrugged, chewing. "Wasn't feeling it." Edward nodded, surprising Mike. "I get that. At my graduation, I hid in the library during the after-party. Parents were arguing over custody. Made everything feel fake." Mike looked up. "Why hide in the library?" Edward's lips curved. "It was the only place nobody thought to look." He paused. "My parents divorced 3 years before. Graduation just reopened old wounds." "That sucks," Mike said softly. "It did," Edward agreed. "But I learned the day wasn't about them. It was about me." Mike snorted. "Today's not about anyone for me. No audience, no problem." Edward turned to face him fully. "I saw your grades, Mike. Top of your class. But I also saw you working extra hours after school. Balancing 2 jobs and still acing your chemistry final." Mike's grip on the burger tightened. "Just doing what I had to." "I want you to apply for that scholarship," Edward said, voice firm but kind. "I'll write your recommendation." Mike blinked. "Why would you do that?" Edward tapped the diploma on Mike's lap. "Because I know what it's like to have no one in the stands. You deserve someone to cheer for you." Mike's throat tightened with emotion. He took a deep breath. "Thank you, sir." Edward pulled from his pocket a crisp $50 bill. "For a proper celebration burger. Warm fries this time." Mike laughed, genuine and bright. "Deal." They drove off together, 2 unlikely allies bound by quiet victories and the promise of better days. Edward leaned back, his voice soft. "I know what you've been through. Working night shifts at the warehouse while keeping a 3.8 GPA, that's not easy. Mike's shoulders tensed. He peeked at the crumpled diploma in his lap. He'd been balancing shifts and study sessions for months, sleeping in the library between classes. It's nothing special, he whispered. Edward shook his head. That doesn't make your effort any less remarkable. When I saw your name on the graduation list, I watched for you. Mike blinked. Why me? Edward's gaze was steady. Your middle school counselor warned me 4 years ago. She said you missed too many days, that your home life might derail your future. He paused. She didn't doubt your spirit, just the odds. Mike's throat tightened. He remembered eviction notices, sleeping on friends' couches, and finally crashing on his brother's floor until even that ended. He swallowed hard. Spite kept me going, he said quietly. Edward smiled, in both sympathy and admiration. Spite is a powerful motivator. But it takes more than anger to pull yourself this far. It takes courage. Mike stared ahead. The stale burger had gone cold. The wrapper crinkled under his hand. I've been on my own, he said, defensive. No one's really beside me. Edward reached over and tapped Mike's hand. You had me today, and I'll keep standing by you. Promise me you'll apply for that scholarship. Mike squeezed Edward's hand back, surprised by the warmth in his voice. Okay, he said softly. I will. Edward nodded, satisfied. Good. Now, let's find you some warm fries. Mike laughed for the first time that day. As Edward pushed the car into traffic, Mike realized that victory didn't need a cheering section, just one person who believed in him. Edward opened the car door but paused, hand on the frame. Mike looked up, heart pounding. Wait, Edward said softly, before you go, read this. Mike held the envelope with trembling fingers. Inside was a folded card thick with signatures, Ms. Smith, Coach Nelson, the cafeteria team, Ms. Anderson, all of them. Congratulations, Mike, we're proud of you, you'll do amazing things. Beneath the notes was a check large enough to buy all his first semester textbooks. Mike's eyes blurred. He remembered Ms. Smith staying late each Tuesday to help with calculus, Coach Nelson letting him shower at school when his apartment's water was cut, the cafeteria ladies slipping extra fries onto his tray, and Ms. Anderson giving him a key to the teacher's lounge so he could sleep quietly between classes. Edward cleared his throat. We know about your partial scholarship. This is to cover the rest. It's not much, but it's everything. Mike pressed the card to his chest. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, Edward smiled. Just promise me you'll use it well. Mike nodded, voice catching. I promise. Edward glanced at his watch. The reception's almost over. I should head back. Mike started the car, then paused. Thank you, he managed. For everything. Edward tipped his cap and stepped out, robes rustling. Mike watched him walk toward the gym entrance, feeling less alone than he ever had. With the check tucked safely in his pocket, Mike drove away, a new chapter waiting to begin. Mike sat for a long time, watching the last cars leave. The gym's bright doors closed behind families heading off to dinners. In the empty silence, he thought about Edward's words, were shaped by who shows up. He realized he'd been so focused on empty seats that he forgot those who quietly stood beside him. He slipped the signed card into his glove box like a treasure. His stomach fluttered at the thought of Donovan's Bistro, an hour until the staff gathering. Anxiety knotted in his chest, but beneath it, something warm and new, hope. He unlocked his phone, found the address, and started the engine. Mike pushed open the door to Donovan's Bistro, a cozy bistro lit by amber lamps and soft music. He saw Ms. Smith waving from a corner table piled with graduation balloons. Coach Nelson lifted his glass in a salute. The cafeteria team and Ms. Anderson were chatting by the counter, plates of finger foods before them. Mike, Ms. Smith called, coming over with a hug. We saved you a seat. His throat tight, Mike managed a smile. Thank you, for everything. Coach Nelson ruffled his hair. Come on, let's get you something warm to eat. Ms. Anderson slid a stack of fries across the table. "You earned these," she said gently. "And more." As Mike joined in the laughter and light conversation, he felt the knot of loneliness unwind. Around him were teachers and staff, his unexpected family. In that simple bistro, with half-finished burgers and warm drinks, Mike knew this was his celebration after all. Mike eased the car into reverse, heart pounding. He didn't have to go in, just drive by, see how he felt. As he slid backward, his gaze fell on the cap crumpled in the back seat. On impulse, he reached over, grabbed it, and placed it neatly beside him. A reminder that today, despite everything, he had achieved something real. 20 minutes later, he sat in Donovan's parking lot, engine idling. He almost backed out 3 times. Then he saw Ms. Smith stepping from her car, laughing at a joke from Coach Nelson. Ms. Anderson stood by the front door, her heels swapped for comfy flats. These were the people who'd helped him through sleepless nights and empty cupboards. And here they were, still showing up. Mike took a deep breath, donned his cap, and stepped out of the car. He paused at the entrance, anxiety twisting his stomach. Principal Edward spotted him first. He nodded once, quiet approval, then turned back to his conversation. Ms. Smith broke away and waved so hard her balloons bobbed. "Mike, you came," she cried, pulling him into a hug. Coach Nelson raised his glass. "We knew you would." Ms. Anderson brushed an errant cap tassel from his forehead. "Welcome to the real celebration." Inside, laughter and soft music filled the air. Warm plates of pasta, bowls of salad, and trays of fries waited on a long table. Mike settled into a chair as Ms. Smith poured him a root beer. He looked around at faces glowing with pride. No family photos, no parents cheering, but here was something more lasting, a chosen family who believed in him. He realized that sometimes life doesn't hand out grand celebrations. Sometimes you eat alone in a car, but other times, someone knocks on your window and invites you in. And that, he thought, touching his cap, makes all the difference.